Stop scrolling for a second. Right now, in this exact moment, the universe is trying to tell you something. But you're too busy, too distracted, too caught up in the noise to hear it. And that silence, it's costing you everything. Think about the last time you actually stopped and listened. Not to a podcast, not to music, not to the endless chatter in your head. When did you last pay attention to what's actually happening around you? Most people go their entire lives never really listening. They miss the signals, ignore the signs, and wonder why they feel so lost. But here's the thing, the universe never stops communicating. You've just forgotten how to tune in. We live in the loudest era in human history. Your phone buzzes every few minutes. Notifications pile up. Emails flood in. Social media screams for your attention. And underneath all of that, your own thoughts race at 1,000,000 miles per hour. What do I need to do today? Why did they say that? What's wrong with me? Where am I going? When will things get better? It's constant, relentless, exhausting. And in all that noise, something crucial gets drowned out. The universe, reality itself, nature, whatever you want to call it, is constantly sending you messages. It's showing you patterns, revealing truths, pointing you in directions. But you can't hear any of it because you're too busy listening to everything else. Think about it. How many times have you ignored your gut feeling and regretted it later? How often have you pushed through exhaustion instead of resting, only to crash harder? How many synchronicities have you dismissed as coincidence? How many dreams did you forget the moment you reached for your phone? The problem isn't that the universe stopped talking. The problem is that we stopped listening. We've become so disconnected from the natural flow of life that we're basically walking around deaf and blind, wondering why everything feels so hard. And here's what makes it worse. We've convinced ourselves that this is normal, that being constantly stressed, constantly busy, constantly distracted is just how life works now. We wear our exhaustion like a badge of honor. We brag about how little we sleep. We compete over who's busier. We've normalized a way of living that cuts us off from the very source of guidance we need most. The language of reality. Here's something most people never consider. Reality is always communicating, not through words, obviously, but through everything else, through patterns, through feelings, through events, through your own body. Your body, for example, is constantly talking to you. When you're tired, it tells you. When you're hungry, it tells you. When something doesn't feel right, when you're in the wrong place or around the wrong people, your body knows before your mind catches up. You feel it in your chest, in your gut, in the tension in your shoulder. But what do most of us do? We ignore it. We drink coffee to push through the tiredness. We eat on schedule rather than when we're actually hungry. We stay in situations that make us feel terrible because we think we're supposed to. We override the signals constantly. And it's not just your body. Look at the events in your life. Really look at them. When the same type of situation keeps happening over and over, that's not random. When you keep meeting the same kind of person in different bodies, that's not coincidence. When opportunities show up right when you need them, or doors close right before you walk through them, the universe is speaking. But we've been trained to ignore all of this. We've been taught to trust external authority over internal knowing, to follow schedules instead of rhythms, to pursue goals instead of following flow, to think our way through life instead of feeling our way through it. And the cost? Anxiety, depression, burnout, a deep sense that something is fundamentally wrong, even when everything looks fine on paper. That feeling that you're living someone else's life, that you're going through the motions, but not really living. The language of reality is subtle until it isn't. It starts with whispers, a quiet sense of unease, a gentle pull in a different direction. a small sign that something needs to change. But when you ignore the whispers, they become louder. The unease becomes anxiety. The pull becomes a crisis. The small sign becomes a major disruption. Think about the last time something major happened in your life. A relationship ending, losing a job, getting sick, an unexpected change. Now think back. Were there warning signs? Small signals you dismissed? Moments where you felt something was off, but talked yourself out of it? Most major life changes are preceded by months or even years of smaller signals. The universe was speaking. You just weren't listening. And here's the interesting thing. The universe doesn't speak the same language to everyone. Your signs might be different from someone else's. Some people get messages through dreams, others through physical sensations, some through repeated numbers or phrases, others through animals or nature, some through the words of strangers, others through songs that play at just the right moment. There's no one right way to receive communication from reality, but there is one common requirement. You have to be present. You have to be paying attention. You have to be willing to see what's actually there instead of what you expect to see. Why we stopped listening. So why did this happen? Why did we become so disconnected? Part of it is survival. Modern life demands constant attention to artificial systems. You need to check your email or you might miss something important. You need to stay on top of your schedule or things fall apart. You need to keep up with the news or you'll be left behind. Or at least, that's what we tell us. But there's something deeper going on. Listening to the universe requires one thing that most people are terrified of. Silence. Real silence. Not just the absence of noise, but the absence of mental chatter. That space where you're not planning, not worrying, not analyzing, not trying to figure everything out. Just being present with what is. And most people can't handle that. Because in that silence, things come up. Feelings you've been avoiding. Truths you don't want to face. Questions you've been running from. The silence shows you what you've been hiding from yourself. So we fill every moment. We scroll through our phones while we eat. We listen to podcasts while we walk. We fall asleep to videos. We make sure there's always something between us and that quiet space where the universe speaks. Another reason we stop listening is that we've lost trust in ourselves. We've outsourced our knowing to experts, to authorities, to popular opinion. We ask everyone else what we should do instead of checking in with what feels right. We read articles about how to live instead of paying attention to what actually works for us. We've forgotten that each of us has an internal compass, an intuition, a sense of what's aligned and what isn't. But that compass only works when you actually consult it, and most people haven't checked in with themselves in years. There's also fear. Fear of what we might hear if we actually listen. What if the universe tells you to leave that comfortable job? What if it tells you to end that relationship everyone thinks is perfect? What if it tells you to move somewhere new, start over, change direction completely? What if listening means disrupting your entire life? So we don't listen, we stay in the noise. We keep busy. We convince ourselves that we're happy enough, comfortable enough, that change would be too risky. And meanwhile, a part of us slowly dies. That part that knows, that part that feels, that part that's connected to something larger than our small, controlled life. And here's another reason we stopped listening. We've been conditioned to believe that life is something we need to control. We make plans, we set goals, we create strategies. We believe that if we just think hard enough, work hard enough, plan well enough, we can force life to go the way we want. But life doesn't work that way. Life is alive, it's dynamic, it's constantly changing. And when you're so focused on your plan, you miss what's actually happening. You miss the detours that would have led somewhere better. You miss the opportunities that don't fit your strategy. You miss the natural flow because you're too busy trying to swim upstream. The signs you're missing. Let me paint you a picture of what you're missing when you're not listening. You wake up exhausted, even after 8 hours of sleep. That's your body telling you something. Maybe it's not about the quantity of sleep. Maybe it's about the quality of your life. Maybe you're exhausted because you're living in a way that drains you. Maybe the universe is saying, slow down, change direction. This path isn't working. But instead of listening, you drink coffee and push through. You ignore the message. Or you keep ending up in the same arguments with different people. Same dynamics, different faces. That's not about them. That's a pattern trying to get your attention. Something in you is creating this situation over and over because there's something you need to learn, something you need to heal, something you need to change. But instead of looking at the pattern, you blame the other person. You ignore the message. Or you feel a pull towards something, a weird interest in a random topic, a desire to take a different route home, an impulse to reach out to someone you haven't talked to in years. These aren't random. These are nudges, the universe moving you in a direction. But you dismiss it as silly. You stick to the plan. You ignore the message, or things keep falling apart in a specific area of your life. Relationships that don't work out, jobs that end unexpectedly, projects that never quite come together. This isn't bad luck. This is redirection. The universe closing doors because you're meant to go a different way, but you keep forcing it. You keep trying to make it work. You ignore the message. See, the universe isn't subtle once you start paying attention. The signs are everywhere, but when you're not listening, you miss all of it. And then you wonder why life feels like such a struggle, why you feel so disconnected, why nothing seems to flow. Here are more signs you're probably missing. You keep getting sick right before big events. Your body is trying to slow you down. You keep missing flights or trains or appointments. Reality is trying to change your timing. You keep running into the same person randomly. There's probably a reason you're supposed to connect. You keep seeing the same phrase or idea everywhere, in books, in conversations, in random articles. That's not coincidence. That's emphasis. The universe showing you something important through repetition. You have a dream that stays with you for days or weeks. Dreams aren't just random brain noise. They're messages from deeper parts of yourself, from the unconscious, from whatever intelligence moves through everything. You feel inexplicably drawn to a place you've never been, or repelled a place everyone says you should go. These feelings are guidance. They're your system telling you where you need to be and where you don't. You meet someone and instantly feel like you've known them forever. Or you meet someone and feel immediately uncomfortable for no logical reason. Your intuition is reading things your conscious mind can't process. Trust it. Something breaks at just the right moment to change your plans. Your car won't start. Your computer crashes. Something spills. These aren't always just accidents. Sometimes they're interventions, course corrections. You lose something and it forces you to change your routine, and that change leads somewhere important. Nothing is wasted. Everything is information. The problem is we've been taught to dismiss all of this as superstition or magical thinking. We've been trained to only trust what we can see, measure, and prove. But life is bigger than that. Reality is stranger and more interconnected than our rational minds want to admit. How to start listening? So how do you tune back in? How do you start hearing what the universe is trying to tell you? First, you need to create space, actual empty space in your life. Time where you're not consuming content, not doing tasks, not filling the void, just sitting, walking without headphones, lying down without your phone, staring out a window. This is going to feel uncomfortable at first. Your mind is going to scream at you. It's going to tell you this is a waste of time. It's going to produce 1,000 urgent thoughts about things you need to do. Let them come. Let them pass. Just keep sitting, because underneath all that noise, there's something else. A quieter voice. A deeper knowing. That's what you're listening for. Start small, 5 minutes a day, just 5 minutes where you do nothing. No phone, no book, no music, no task, just you and whatever shows up in that space. Sit outside if you can. Watch the sky, feel the air, notice what's actually here. Second, you need to start checking in with your body. Throughout the day, pause and notice what you're feeling. Not thinking, feeling. Is there tension somewhere? Is your breathing shallow? Does your stomach feel tight? Your body is giving you constant feedback about whether you're in alignment or not. When something feels expansive, light, open, that's a yes. When something feels contracting, heavy, closed, that's a no. Your body knows, you just have to ask it. Make this a practice. Before you say yes to something, pause, check in. How does your body respond to the idea? Does it expand or contract? Before you make a decision, get quiet. Ask your body, it will tell you. And here's the key. You have to actually trust what you feel. Not just notice it and then override it with logic. Actually trust it. Your body has intelligence that your thinking mind doesn't have access to. It's processing millions of pieces of information every second. It knows things. Listen to it. Third, pay attention to patterns. Start noticing what keeps showing up in your life. The same types of people, the same types of situations, the same types of challenges. These aren't punishments. These are lessons. The universe keeps presenting them until you get it. Journal about it. What's the common thread? What's the deeper pattern? What's trying to emerge? The answers won't come from thinking harder. They'll come from looking honestly. Get specific. Write down the pattern. What exactly keeps happening? When did it start? What's your role in it? What are you supposed to learn? What needs to change? The act of writing it down often reveals things you couldn't see when it was just swirling in your head. Fourth, follow the pull. When you feel drawn to something, even if it doesn't make logical sense, try it. Take the class. Read the book. Have the conversation. Go to the place. These impulses aren't random. They're guidance. The universe works through your interests, your curiosities, your unexplainable desires. Most people ignore these pulls because they can't justify them. They need a reason. But life doesn't work that way. The reason reveals itself later. First, you have to take the step. And here's something important. Start small with this. You don't have to quit your job and move to another country because you had a fleeting thought. But you can pick up that book. You can take that walk. You can send that message. Small actions in response to subtle guidance. That's how you build trust with yourself and with reality. Fifth, get comfortable with not knowing. One of the biggest blocks to listening is the need to understand everything, to have it all figured out, to know where things are leading before you take the first step. But the universe doesn't work that way. It reveals things piece by piece, step by step. You get the next piece of information when you need it, not before. And that requires trust, faith, a willingness to move forward even when you can't see the whole path. This is hard for most people. We want guarantees. We want to know it's going to work out before we commit. But that's not how life works. You have to step into the unknown. You have to trust the process. You have to be okay with mystery. What happens when you listen? When you start actually listening to the universe, everything changes, not overnight, not dramatically, but gradually things start to feel different. First, you stop forcing so much. You realize that life has a natural flow, and when you work with it instead of against it, things get easier. Opportunities show up. Connections happen naturally. Solutions appear, not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. You notice that the right people start appearing in your life at the right times. The right information finds you when you need it. Doors open that you didn't even know were there. This isn't magic. This is what happens when you're paying attention and moving in harmony with what's actually happening instead of what you think should happen. Second, you make better decisions. Not because you're smarter, but because you're tapping into a deeper intelligence. Your intuition gets stronger. You know what's right for you even when other people don't understand. You trust yourself, and this trust changes everything. You stop second-guessing yourself constantly. You stop asking everyone else for their opinion. You stop looking for external validation. You know, and that knowing gives you a confidence that doesn't come from ego, but from alignment. Third, you feel more alive because you're actually present. You're not living in your head, replaying the past or worrying about the future. You're here now, experiencing what's actually happening. And life becomes richer. Food tastes better. Conversations go deeper. Ordinary moments become profound. Colors seem brighter. Music sounds better. You notice details you've walked past 1,000 times. You feel connected to the world around you in a way you haven't since you were a child. Life stops being something you're rushing through and becomes something you're actually experiencing. Fourth, you stop feeling so alone because you realize you're part of something bigger. You're not just an isolated individual trying to figure everything out by yourself. You're connected to everything. The universe is on your side. It always has been. You just weren't listening. This shift is huge. So many people feel fundamentally alone in the world. Like they're struggling by themselves. Like no one understands. Like they have to do everything on their own. But when you start listening, you realize you're being guided, supported, led. You're part of an intelligent universe that's constantly working with you, not against you. And here's the beautiful part. The more you listen, the clearer the communication becomes. It's like tuning a radio. At first, it's all static, with occasional clear moments. But as you practice, the signal gets stronger. The messages get clearer. Life starts to feel less like chaos and more like a conversation. You start to recognize your personal signs, the way the universe speaks to you specifically. Maybe it's through songs, maybe through animals, maybe through sensations in your body, maybe through what other people say, maybe through dreams. Everyone's different. But once you start paying attention, you learn your language, and then something really interesting happens. You can start asking questions, not out loud necessarily, but internally. You can ask for guidance, and then pay attention to what shows up. You can ask for a sign, and then watch for it. You can ask for help and then notice how help arrives. Help, and then notice how help arrives. It becomes a two-way conversation, living in dialogue with reality. This is ultimately what we're talking about. Not passive listening, but active dialogue. You listen, you respond. The universe shows you something. You act on it. You ask a question, you pay attention to what shows up. It's a back and forth. Most people live as if they're alone in the universe, shouting into the void, but that's not how it works. Reality responds. It always has. You've just been too distracted to notice. When you live in dialogue with reality, life stops being something that happens to you and becomes something you're dancing with. You're not in control, but you're not helpless either. You're participating, co-creating, flowing. And this isn't mystical nonsense. This is practical wisdom that changes how you move through the world. When you listen to your body, you take better care of yourself. When you notice patterns, you break cycles that don't serve you. When you follow your intuition, you end up in the right places at the right times. When you pay attention to what's actually happening instead of what you think should happen, you make choices that align with reality instead of fighting it. This is how people end up living lives that feel meaningful, even when they're not impressive by conventional standards. They're not following someone else's script. They're listening to their own inner guidance and the signals from the world around them. They're in conversation with life itself. Think about the people you know who seem to have a certain ease about them, who seem to be in the right place at the right time, who make decisions that work out even when they don't make logical sense, who seem to know things without being able to explain how. These people aren't special. They're not gifted. They're just listening. They've learned to trust the subtle guidance, to follow the thread, to pay attention to what wants to happen instead of forcing what they think should happen. And life responds to that. Life works with them instead of against them. This doesn't mean everything is easy. It doesn't mean bad things don't happen. It doesn't mean you never struggle, but it means you're not struggling alone. You're not making it all up as you go. You're being guided. And that changes everything. When something difficult happens, you can ask what it's trying to teach you. When you're confused, you can get quiet and listen for the next step. When you're scared, you can check in with your body and your intuition to see if the fear is warning you, or just old conditioning. You have resources beyond your thinking mind. And here's what's wild. The more you live this way, the more you realize how much you were missing before, how much struggle was unnecessary, how many doors you tried to force open that weren't meant for you, how many times you ignored the clear signals pointing you in a better direction. But there's no point in regret. You weren't ready to listen then, you are now. That's what matters. So here's the moment of truth. You have a choice right now. You can close this video and go back to the noise, back to the distraction, back to the endless doing without ever really listening. And life will continue exactly as it has been, slightly off, slightly disconnected, slightly exhausting. Or you can start paying attention, really paying attention. Not tomorrow, not when things calm down, not when you have more time, right now. This moment, this breath. What is your body telling you? What have you been ignoring? What's been trying to get your attention? The universe has been speaking to you your entire life. Every moment of intuition you dismissed. Every sign you explained away. Every pattern you ignored. It's all been communication, and it hasn't stopped. It's still speaking. Right now. The question is, are you finally ready to listen? Because here's what happens when you decide to listen. Everything you've been searching for, every answer you've been seeking, every bit of guidance you've been desperate for, it's already here. It's been here all along. You've just been looking in the wrong direction. You've been looking outside yourself for answers that can only come from within. You've been trying to think your way through situations that require you to feel your way through. You've been forcing when you should have been flowing. You've been speaking when you should have been listening. And the beautiful thing is, it's never too late to start. Right now, in this moment, you can make a different choice. You can put down the phone, you can get quiet, you can check with your body, you can ask what you need to know, and then you can listen, really listen. Not for what you want to hear, not for confirmation of what you already think, but for what's actually true, for what's actually here, for what's actually being communicated to you through this wild, mysterious, intelligent reality you're part of. Look, this isn't about becoming some enlightened guru who meditates for hours and sees secret meanings in everything. It's simpler than that. It's about remembering that you're not separate from life. You're part of it. And life is always giving you feedback, always guiding you, always showing you what you need to see. You don't need to figure everything out in your head. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to listen to your body, to the patterns, to the quiet voice underneath all the noise, to the synchronicities, to the pull, to what's actually happening instead of what you think should be happening. This is how you find your way, not by planning everything perfectly, but by staying present and responsive to what shows up. This is how you stop settling so much, not by trying harder, but by flowing with what is. This is how you feel connected again, not by achieving more, but by tuning in to what's already here. The universe is speaking to you. It always has been. Every single moment, through everything. And when you finally start listening, really listening, life transforms, not into something perfect, but into something real, something alive, something that feels like coming home. You already know what you need to do. Some part of you has known all along. That's the part that led you to this video. That's the part that's been waiting for permission to finally be heard. This is your permission. This is your reminder. This is your invitation to stop ignoring what you know and start trusting it. The path forward isn't found by thinking harder. It's found by listening deeper, by trusting more, by paying attention to what's actually here instead of what you wish was here, by working with reality instead of against it. And yes, this takes practice. You're not going to be perfect at it. You're going to miss signals. You're going to ignore your intuition and regret it. You're going to fall back into the noise and have to consciously choose to get quiet again. That's okay. That's part of the process. What matters is that you keep coming back, keep choosing to listen, keep trusting that there's an intelligence moving through your life that's bigger than your thinking mind. Keep remembering that you're not alone in this. Keep opening to the conversation that's always been happening, because the universe isn't going anywhere. It will keep speaking. It will keep sending signs. It will keep guiding you. The only question is whether you're going to listen. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more insights that actually matter.